What is up, everybody? It is Drew, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, here with another video, and we're gonna have a deck profile followed by kind of an in-depth combo guide, if you want to call it that. This is going to be a very interesting video. I know a lot of people like watching my Mermail content. There's a lot of there's two other channels that I always recommend to people who are trying to like learn this deck and learn combos, and that would be my boy Nepti. Shout outs to you, man. Fantastic dude, super chill, super laid back. Hop in his Discord too. You can find it in the description of his videos. And then Quez is always interesting. His lists are never like they're never streamlined. It's always like his own thing, and I think that's really neat, and I think it definitely allows for some creative combos that can really just throw your opponent off. So shout out to both of them. I give both of them credit. I talk with Nepti a lot. I've never had a conversation with Quez before, but hey, floor's always open. That being said, though, we're going in depth with Mermills. We're taking a deep dive with Mermills. So yeah, before we hop into the video, if you're not subscribed already, go ahead and smash the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload more cool and awesome content like the video you are currently watching, and obviously give video a thumbs up. It's significantly appreciated. But yeah, let's take a look at Mermills. So before we even really jump into this, I think it's noteworthy to at least state that, you know, Hulk got banned and Ronin got banned. So this is going to be without Hulk or Ronin, because we have to play without them now, which does present challenges, but the deck is still fully functional. So starting with the Mermail lineup, we have 3 Mermail Abystius. I'm sure everyone knows, if you're watching a Mermail video, what Mermails do by now. However, I will explain for the people who don't know. Basically, Mermail Abystius, you're going to pitch a water monster from your hand, special summon this from your hand, and search for level 4 lower Mermail monster. If anyone wants to just pause the video and read them, feel free to. It should be high enough quality to where you can read it. If I can see it through my camera lens and read it, you could definitely read it as well. Moving on to the next card, I opt to play 2 Megalo. I'm usually pretty set on 2 Megalo. I don't stray from this very often. I just think it's the correct ratio. I've loved playing 2 Megalo. If you're playing more of like an OTK variation, you could play 3, or if you're playing like a super crazy like odd combo variation, you play 1. My build is very mid-range, so I like to play 2. But basically, you pitch 2 waters to special it, and then when it's special that way, you search for an Abyss spell or trap. You can also tribute a face-up attack position water monster on the field, and he can make a second attack during each battle phase. That's one of the great things about him. This card enables a lot of OTKs and big pushes. Yeah, I mean, this deck's been around for 10 years, and this card is still literally relevant because it's so good. The last 2 Mermails, the one-ofs, we play 1 copy of Pike and 1 copy of Gund. So Pike, I know no one's going to be able to pause the video and read it. However, I can read it for you, seeing it's foreign, or I can at least tell you what it does. Basically, when he's summoned, you can discard water, and you can search for a level 3 water from your deck. So there's a lot of things that obviously come up with that. One of them being Abyss Gund. You can grab Abyss Gund off of him, which is fantastic. So Abyss Gund, the cool part about this card, if it's just discarded, you special summon a Mermail from your graveyard. Doesn't matter what level it is or anything. You just special Mermail from your graveyard, which is really cool. Like, obviously, you can bring back Megalos with this card. You can bring back Teuses. You can bring back a Pike if you wanted to. So, yeah, it's very relevant. Those are all the Mermails, though. We are playing 7 in total. I know some people play 6. Some people play more than that. I think that 7 is a good number. Moving on to the Atlanteans now, we have 3 copies of Neptubus. So Neptubus essentially says that you can send an Atlantean for cost from your deck to the graveyard, and you can search for another Atlantean as its effect. So if your opponent on the summon of Neptubus goes Valor, you get to laugh because you still get to send one of your Atlanteans for cost, because it's part of a cost. You can't negate a cost. That's how it works. So this card is insane for so many different reasons. Additionally, if it's sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster effect, you special summon an Atlantean from your graveyard, which comes up a lot in comboing. It comes up in OTKs, all that stuff. So yeah, 3 Neptubus is a must. Up next, we have our triple copies of Atlantean Dragoons. Atlantean Dragoons is crazy. This card is such a good card. I think most people know the fact that when it's, sent to activate a water monster effect, you can search a sea serpent from your deck to your hand. But a lot of people don't even read the first sentence, that all level 3 or lower sea serpent type monsters you control can attack your opponent directly. That doesn't come up as much, but it definitely can come up. I mean, I don't see a scenario where it's like that major, but there are some scenarios where I'm sure you could be like, all right, well, I have to hit my opponent for game, and then you just poke them for a little bit. So, yeah, Dragoons, absolutely insane. You have to run 3 of it. Then we have 2 copies of Infantry. I almost played 3, but I had to make room for some stuff in here. So, if you want to play a third, by all means, play a third, but right now I'm experimenting with 2. That might change. We'll obviously, go more in depth with some of the other card choices, and I'll fill everyone in as to what I am thinking about swapping out for the third. Moving on to the deep sea cards, we have 3 copies of Diva. If this card resolves, it's basically just GG, because you get to summon out your Neptubus and then you just get to pop off. Yeah, I mean, literally this facilitates so much. If you open up this and Neptubus, you can summon Infantry, and if you like from your deck, and then you could get the additional normal with Infantry for the Neptubus in your hand, and then you really combo off. So yeah, Deep Sea Diva is actually just disgusting. And a lot of people, when they if it's game 1 and your first play is normal Diva activate effect, most people think you're on Sprite, so they don't negate it, because they're like, oh, well, he's just going to special summon the Sprite cards from hand, and then you summon the Neptubus, and then they just panic. So yeah, Deep Sea Diva is crazy. Then we, of course, play the obligatory Minstrel. I always want to play this card at more than 1, but it's just not in a position where more than 1 is that great. Yeah, it's very searchable too. It's a level 3, so you can grab it off Pike. It's a sea serpent. You grab it off of Dragoons. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Card's good, but you really just need the 1. Then this is the card that I'm so back and forth on so often. Deep Sea Artisan. So I want to play this card, but I don't at the same time. If I were to make any card in the deck the 3rd copy of Infantry, it would be this card. I think this card does have a lot of solid applications, but it's not like I'm sitting here going, this is the best card in the deck, because it's not. It's okay. It's okay, but it's not anything, absolutely insane. So if you want to play the 1 Artisan, play the 1 Artisan. If you want to play the 3rd Infantry, play the 3rd Infantry. It's kind of just preference. I'm going back and forth between the 2 to see what works best. Up next, we have 3 copies of a Bish Shark. So I am only playing the Pike. I'm not playing the Silent Angler, but this card is absolutely insane. I know Quez had posted a video on his channel showcasing the combo opening this with Diva. I'm going to showcase a combo with Neptubus that I like to do. When the ban list first dropped, it was the first combo that came to mind that I was able to figure out. So yeah, that'll be the first combo that I show, is a Bish Shark plus Neptubus. Yeah, this card is really good. I don't know what else to say. It's just a crazy card. Then we have 3 copies of Swap Frog. I'm not playing any other frogs, but this is the Sprite variant, so you do need the frogs. I think that Substitute is a good card, but my problem is that there weren't any other cards that I wanted to take out of here in order to make space for Substitute and Poison Dart Frog. And considering I'm already at 40 cards, there was no way I was going over 40. I don't think this deck needs more than 40 cards. So yeah, 3 swap though. This is just Sprite combo stuff. And I mean, it can trigger Gunned, but that doesn't come up as often as just the standard Sprite stuff. Additionally, 2 copies of Silent Sea Nettle. This obviously helps your graveyard for Moulinglacia plays. Additionally, on top of that, it is a level 4 extender, so it goes into Bahamut Shark, which is obviously amazing. So yeah, 2 Sea Nettle. I don't think you need a 3rd. 2 is perfectly fine. And we have one copy of Moulinglacia and one copy of Lapis Dragon. So the Moulinglacia is obviously your hand rip, which in this format, we're going to see how good this card is because like against tier, unless you've made a Dweller first, this card's really bad. But yeah, it's still really good. Then the one Lapis Dragon. One thing I will note is that in my extra deck, I'm not playing any synchro cards. This card is literally just here as link fodder. That's the only reason I have this card here. So just link fodder, but like it's a free extender. That's obviously very important. Having free extenders is amazing. If you open up like Diva, you can go ahead and like break your opponent's board apart if they have a link too. Opening Diva lets you break the board apart in this particular variation, which we'll obviously get into. So that is all of the monsters that I play in the main deck. There are no hand traps. I want to note that because this deck is so combo oriented, the entire main deck is just centered around comboing off. There's absolutely no cards for going second. So I know that's crazy, but trust me, when this deck pops off, it pops off. Moving on to the spells though, 3 copies of Small World. For a while, I absolutely refused to play this card. And then with Hulk getting banned and Ronan getting banned, I said, you know what? I kind of like need more consistency in the deck, and Small World definitely does that. Definitely play 3 of this card, like 100% play 3. Even if you open multiples of it, as long as you can resolve it, like this card will probably win you games. So yeah, triple Small World, fully worth it. Then we play 2 copies of Arya. I'm always back and forth on whether or not I want to play 1 or 2. I would never play 3 personally. It's a once per turn card that you need like stuff in graveyard for. Whereas Small World, you just need a card in hand that you can use. So yeah, I think that Arya is a good card, but I think that like 2 is the max on this card. Next, we have 2 copies of Mermail of Greed. This card, as we all know, is pretty good. It says draw 3 cards, which is crazy. If you draw cards that you don't want to draw, like if your opening hand has like a Lapis and a Moulinglacia, you just shuffle them back and you get 3 new cards, and you hope that it helps for your combo. So yeah, not much to say about this other than it helps out with consistency and bricky hands. Then with the one-ofs, we put the 1/1 for 1 for the Neptubus because, like, why wouldn't you? There are obviously lists where you can toy around with not playing it, but I still think that this card is too good to not play. 1 copy of Call by the Grave because it's a god card. Yeah, that's that's all I have to say about Call by the Grave. And then lastly, the 1 Mizuchi. This is fantastic for so many reasons, but I don't think I need to really go that in depth with that because everybody knows this card is absolutely insane. It negates Dark Ruler. It actually negates Super Poly. It's one of, if not the only card that negates Super Poly. I can't remember if there are any others, but I know this does negate Super Poly, which is crazy. So yeah, that is the entirety of the main deck though. Like I said, it should be 40 cards exact as long as I counted correctly. If I didn't count correctly, that would be terrible. But while we have the deck profile here, we'll just count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there should be 30 monsters. I know there was 10 spells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. 30 plus 10 would indeed equal 40. These are new sleeves, so they're very slippery. But yeah, so 40 cards in the main deck. We'll go ahead and go on over to the extra deck so I can talk a little bit about that. All right, so extra deck time. I think the extra deck is interesting because, like I said, I'm playing the Lapis, but I'm not playing any synchros. I didn't think there were any synchros that were like overly relevant this format, so I opted to like go with something that, in my opinion, it functions very, very well for the Sprite variant. So I actually play 3 Toad. This deck does turbo out Toad fairly easily. There are going to be times where you go and you make 2 Bahamut in a turn and you're able to still do your swap play. So I don't see why you wouldn't play 3 in this particular build. Like, obviously, it's easier to make a 3rd in a build with Substitute and Poison Dart, but I still think that in this build, because I'm playing double Bahamut Shark, that it's fully worth playing the triple Toad for that reason. Speaking of the double Bahamut, here they are. yeah, this card in this variant is insane. I will obviously be showcasing a combo that really utilizes this card to its maximum potential. So yeah, Bahamut's crazy. One copy of Dweller because we have to stop tier stuff and any other graveyard decks. So yeah, the one Dweller's fully worth it. Then we are playing Sprite, so we play the one Gigantic and the one Elf. And these cards are crazy. I can't even begin to tell you how crazy these cards are. You should be playing these. If you're not, please do. They help this deck so much, so much. Moving on to the rest of the links, though, we have one Hashima because this card facilitates ridiculous combos. I think the combo is Diva and Swap get you here. So we'll obviously go into those kinds of things as the video progresses. But yeah, one Hashima. Then I play the one Starboy. It's just another Link 2, and I think the deck does need the extra Link 2 for climbing and for Sprite combos. So yeah, the one Starboy I think is really good. One copy of Abyss Keeper. This card is disgusting, absolutely disgusting. I will be showing the combo that involves this card first in the combo portion of the video, so get ready to see that because this card really facilitates a lot for the deck. Then we play the one Glatia. Yeah, this card is actually ridiculously good. A long time ago I did not respect this card whatsoever, but now like this is one of the best link monsters that Water has. So yeah, you gotta play this. Play the one copy of Arya. It may not like be, well, I shouldn't say it won't be used as much because like you could still steal Rhino Hearts. You're still going to be able to steal Toads. So yeah, this card's going to be really good. It's good for link climbing. It's good for taking your opponent's stuff. Yeah, and obviously it has the searching ability stuff, which is good too. We play one copy of Coral Anemone. This card's really good too. Like, honestly, I think this card is fantastic. It does facilitate a lot of extending in your plays, which you want. It can bring back Swap Frogs, which is fantastic. So yeah, don't sleep on this card because it'll win you a lot of games. And lastly, we have one copy of Underworld Goddess. Yeah, this card you'll see how the Deep Sea Diva play can be like a one card Underworld Goddess. It's actually pretty darn cool. So yeah, but that's it for the extra deck. 15 cards, obviously. If you want to change it up and you don't want to like play sprites, go for it. If you don't want to play a third toad, go for it. But so far from what I've tried out, it seems like the ratios I have are working really well for me. So I really can't complain. But I'm going to go ahead and jump on over to the side deck, which is completely experimental. So please, nobody destroy me and tear me a new one. This is all just completely experimental because we don't have a developed format yet, other than the fact that we know that tier is going to be good. So let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so side deck time. We are looking at 3 Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. I think that this card is really good for a multitude of reasons. Primarily, the big thing that I see is the fact that like your opponent in this meta is probably going to be doing such a long combo, especially if they're playing tier. If they're playing tier, they're going to be comboing forever. And if you can drop this card on them, you're just going to end up winning in time. You have to do it. Like, you just have to sit there and force your opponent into a tough position, and that's what Dogwood does. And we have 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. If you're playing against Sprite, or if you're playing against a board from like tier that has something set up on it, you can obviously shut the board off. Sure, you like to OTK and Mermails, but if you have to just play around the board for a turn and make it so they can't play on their turn, that's obviously really good too. So yeah, triple Dark Ruler, fully worth it. Then back row removal, 2 Cosmic Cyclone and 1 Feather Duster. I think that this is probably a really good setup. Feather Duster is obviously fantastic, but Cyclone is amazing too. You're going to be outing Mystic Minds all day with this card. So yeah, got to play the double Cyclone. Next, we have 3 copies of Evenly because like this card cracks the tier board. It cracks trap decks. Obviously, there's like no red reboot. Well, that doesn't make too much of a difference, but yeah, this card just does a lot. It cracks a lot of boards and makes it so your opponent really just struggles to come back from anything. I've always been a huge proponent of this card. Now more than ever, I think that everyone should be side decking this. Then lastly, for when we go first, 3 copies of White Howling. This is a little odd, but yeah, in this format, there's obviously a lot of spell cards floating around. So you're going to want to have a way to counter them, and I think that this is a fantastic way to counter them. You're playing a completely water-based deck, so this actually just is crazy for us. So that is the entirety of the side deck, though. I don't think I'm going to go super in-depth with it because, like I said, the side deck is very experimental, and I don't want to say it's guaranteed to be what I side deck. It's just what I think right now is how I'm going to be testing it until I feel that there's something that needs to be changed. But hopefully everybody enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up so far. We're not done yet. You know, if you enjoy the deck profile portion, obviously give it a thumbs up. But we're going to go ahead and jump on into combos, and everyone is going to learn how to combo with Mermail. This is going to be a long video today, guys, so I hope everyone is ready. All right, so it is time to learn some combos. Now, none of these are going to be like super crazy, like disgusting, unbreakable board combos, because obviously we have board breakers in the game. Anything can break a board, and let's be realistic. Dark Ruler, Super Poly, all that stuff still floats around. So if you're going to comment and be like, this board loses to Dark Ruler, this board loses to Super Poly. Thank you for pointing out the most obvious thing. I'm glad you're the most intelligent person in the room. Let me get you a trophy. So we're going to be starting off with one of the basic combos that I thought was half decent. This is probably like a very simple combo that if you draw it, you draw it, and it's like, okay, at least I have something to use and play on. So it's basically opening up Neptubus and a Bish Shark. Now, I believe I talked a little bit earlier in the video about how Quez posted something about opening a Bish Shark and Diva, and that board has a significantly larger, more powerful end to it, but this is like very basic. I think it's half decent at the minimum. So yeah, we'll jump into this. So basically you're going to normal summon your Neptubus, and you're going to send for cost. So you're going to be sending a Dragoon to search for a Dragoon, and then your Dragoon Engrave will trigger, and you're actually going to be searching for a copy of Neptubus off of this. And after that's done, we can special summon the Abyss Shark, and the Abyss Shark will then search for our Abyss Pike. So we now have gone from starting with just 2 cards to now having 5. That's already a really good start. We're already at a +3, which is awesome. Then we're going to link off the Abyss Shark and the Neptubus, and we're going to make what's probably now my favorite link monster for water, and that would be Abyss Keeper. So Abyss Keeper will trigger, which will special summon our Pike. So Pike will hit the board, and then Pike's effect will trigger, discarding the Neptubus. You have to discard the Neptubus here. To search for a level 3. In this case, your best search option is going to be Minstrel, especially in this format. So we add the Minstrel to hand. And this gets shuffled. Perfect. So the Neptubus will trigger because it was sent to activate the Pike, and you get to revive the Dragoons. Now, normally at this point, you can just start overlaying, but what I like to do first, and this is totally optional, if you're going to make Dweller, you make the Dweller first. If you're going for a Toad combo, you do Minstrel first. So if you're going for the Toad stuff, you drop your Minstrel, and then you'll get to search with Dragoon after that, which will grant you access to Moulinglacia. So what you're doing is you're essentially using the Minstrel to take whatever card you don't want your opponent to discard and banish it. And then the Moulinglacia is going to hit board, and now you have 2 cards coming out of their hand which is going to put them down to from 4 cards to 2, because keep in mind they have the 1 banished off of Minstrel. So your chances of hitting the cards that you want to hit is essentially 50%, unless they have a cracked hand, and then you're hitting everything, and it's going to be successful for you no matter what. So now that you've dropped your Moulinglacia, you can overlay for your Bahamut Shark. So now your Bahamut Shark hits board, and you're going to use the effect. You're going to detach material to summon a toad, and then the effect of Dragoons will trigger, and we're going to search for a copy of Heavy Infantry, and we'll give that a shuffle. And from here, we're going to be linking the Bahamut and the Abyss Keeper for our copy of Glatia. So this is the end of the board. So essentially what we've done is we've stripped 2 problematic cards out of our opponent's hand. They're going to start their turn with 4 cards. We have a Toad negate, and after the negate, we can add back whatever we want. It would probably be a decent idea to add back Neptubus. So Neptubus comes to hand. And then on top of that, we have the ability to use Glatia. The Glatia can discard the Infantry, which will grant us access to either a Megalo or a Teus. Teus is probably the better choice. And then the Infantry will pop one of our opponent's cards. So now they've basically only got 2 cards left in the grand scheme of things, because you've ripped 2, you've negated 1, and you've popped 1. And if you wait long enough into their combo, you may be popping more than 1 card. Like if they make a gigantic sprite, before they use the effect, you can use the Glatia to pitch this, and then the gigantic sprite is gone, and then you may just win the game outright because of that. So that's actually really cool. If this gets destroyed, you then trigger the Grave effect, which sends a copy of Infantry from deck to grave. And then you can special summon back your Toad in defense position. And what makes this crazy is the Infantry will now get another pop because you sent one from deck to grave, so the Infantry pops a card. And then the Toad effect is still on board, or even if they get rid of it and they send it to grave, now you can add another water monster back to your hand, like a Dragoons or an Infantry, whatever you may need. So that, even though it's a basic hand, is actually really good. It provides you interruptions, it provides you hand loops, and if you make the Dweller, then obviously you have the ability to shut off your opponent's graveyard for a whole turn, which is very powerful. So yeah, I think that that's a really cool combo. I'm going to go ahead and cut the camera over to the next combo so you can see exactly how it looks. All right, so now we have the Mermail Classic, which is opening up our Teus and Dragoons. Obviously a phenomenal opening all the time in this deck. So you're going to activate your Teus, discarding your Dragoons. Teus hits the board, and you'll get both of the searches. We're going to go ahead and grab a copy of Pike, and then our Dragoons will trigger to search for Deep Sea Diva. Now we can normal summon Diva, and Diva effect will trigger, and we'll get to summon out Neptubus. And then we'll use the effect of Neptubus to send a Dragoons. Dragoons hits grave. We get to search for another Dragoons off of the Neptubus. And then the Dragoons in grave will search for our Neptubus. So Neptubus's graveyard effect is insane. In case nobody really knows, you can use you can only use each effect of it once per turn. It's not that you can only use one effect, you can use each effect once per turn, which is pretty darn good, very powerful. So from here, you're going to link your Neptubus and your Abyss Teus for a copy of Abyss Keeper. Abyss Keeper will then trigger to summon the Pike. Pike's effect will then be activating to discard the Neptubus. That'll allow us to search for Minstrel or Gund, whatever you prefer. In this scenario, I'm going to grab the Minstrel. All right, and now Neptubus triggers to special summon the Dragoon. And then we can overlay these two for Bahamut. Bahamut will trigger. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I grabbed the Minstrel. I was supposed to grab the gun. I apologize. Let me grab the gun back. There we go. Figure I should just correct that before we continue. So now we go ahead and we detach off of Bahamut. And we summon a toad. The goons will now trigger. And we're going to search for a copy of Megalo. Currently, we do have 5 waters engraved, so we could technically grab a Moulinglacia and hand loop, but we don't need to hand loop in this combo. That's not the intention of what I'm going for. So we won't be doing the hand loop here. But what we can do here, we can activate our copy of Megalo, discarding the Dragoons and the Gund. And then that will allow us to get some chain links here. So essentially you're going to do Megalo 1, Dragoons 2, and Gund 3. Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I made another mistake. I'm really fumbling today, aren't I? So we should be linking these two first for a copy of Starboy. I apologize. Then we activate the Megalo, discarding these two, because what it's going to allow you to do is bring back your copy of Abyss Pike. So Pike now hits the board, and we get our searches for a Sea Serpent and one of the Abyss spell traps. So we'll grab this, and Sea Serpent. You can probably just grab the Infantry here. That's your best bet. And then from this point, we're going to overlay our Starboy and Deep Sea Diva. We're going to make Gigantic. Then Gigantic effect, we'll get to summon out a copy of Swap. Swap effect will trigger to dump a swap. Perfect. From here, we're going to link the Gigantic and the Diva and make Elf, and then Elf effect will trigger to revive the swap, and then we'll overlay these two for a Toad, and then we can activate the Mizuchi. So keep in mind, this can be any Sea Serpent in your hand, whatever you want to grab. Obviously, you'll have more cards in hand, so that'll determine a lot. If you have other extenders, it changes things, but I just wanted to grab a random Sea Serpent. That way you guys know I had one. So this essentially is a blank Sea Serpent. So keep in mind it's blank. If you wanted to, you could link these off for Glatia, which is okay, but there's no need to. Like, you already have 2 Toads up. That's pretty solid. So this board just gets you into a really solid board state. You have technically 3 Omni negates because your Elf can bring a Toad back. So you're going to have 1, 2, and then you bring a Toad back. That's 3. That also adds you 3 water monsters back to your hand. And the Mizuchi will negate a Super Poly. It'll negate a Dark Ruler. It'll negate anything like that. So that's actually really crazy. So your Abystius Dragoons combo does get you pretty darn far, as you can see. So we're going to go ahead and jump on into the last combo that I'll be showing you guys today. Alright, so before I show you the last combo, I want to point out that all these combos are very experimental. I'm still trying to really acclimate to the deck post-Hulk ban and post-Ronin ban as far as how I want to go about a list. So keep in mind, the list and the combos are definitely subject to change, but I think that this is a really good start for the format. Additionally, I think it's a really good start for the deck, and if you're new to the deck and you're trying to figure out how to play it, I think that this is fantastic. It's a really good guide. So you're going to start by normal summoning your Infantry, which will get you the additional summon of the Diva, and then Diva will trigger. You can summon a Neptubus. Neptubus effect will send the goons to add the goons, and then you'll get the Dragoons effect, which can search you copy of Lapis. And Lapis will trigger to special itself. So we've extended pretty far here. There actually is one more thing that I'll point out at the end of this, in the instance that you're going second, but we'll get to that in a bit. Right now we're focusing on this. So from here, we're going to go ahead and link our Diva and our Infantry for our Bujinki Hashima, which will get its effect to special summon the Dragoons from hand and the Dragoons from grave. And they'll become a copy of Bahamut Shark. You can then use the Bahamut Shark effect to summon a toad. The Dragoons will trigger in our graveyard. So you're going to be searching for a sea serpent here. Now, it's probably best that you go for, and I'm sorry, I should have made this here. It's probably best that you go for Moulinglacia. So we get the Glatia to hand. And then we link the Neptubus and the Lapis for a Starboy. And now we have 5 waters in grave, so there's our 2-card loop. And then we overlay the Starboy and the Hashima for Gigantic. Gigantic effect will trigger, and we get to summon a swap. And then swap's effect will dump another swap. So now our swap goes to grave. Then we link the Gigantic and the Bahamut, which will get us into a Sprite Elf. From here, we're going to use Elf to bring back a swap. And then your swaps will become a second Toad. So we have a hand loop for 2 and double Omni negates. And we still get our battle phase because this is still on the board. We'll also get to add waters back because of the Toad negates, which obviously will accelerate our follow-up, which is really good. One thing before I do end the combo video, though, is that I want to talk about opening Diva going second if your opponent lets it go through. Because you can clear a board with Diva. And, well, I shouldn't say, I say clear a board. It's not like clear a board. You get to essentially shut off a board, which to me is just as good as clearing it, because if you can shut off a board, you can play through it. So if you open up Diva, you can summon Neptubus, and then you can use Neptubus to send Dragoon, search Dragoon, and then Dragoon and grave searches Lapis, which specials itself. And if your opponent has any link 2 on the board, you link these 3 and their link 2 for Underworld Goddess. Now, obviously, if you have a bunch of extenders in hand, then you really go off. Like if you have a Megalo, another water, then you're good, because a Megalo and another water with the Dragoons in hand is probably going to be able to just game shot your opponent. So, yeah, opening just Diva, if they have a link 2, does break their board. So, yeah, I figured I'd point that out just so people can see, like, that is a thing. It's a really strong thing, too. So, don't underestimate the power of Diva. It will break their board and cause them a lot of suffering. Yeah, but that is the entirety of the combo video. Hopefully, this was somewhat helpful to a few people, because I feel like this deck needs more content posted on YouTube. I feel like it doesn't get enough content posted on YouTube, which is why I wanted to show some of the combos that I've come up with and really tried to make powerful and strong as possible. And I think that this is a pretty good start. I think that there are definitely things that the deck is lacking in comparison to how it was. Obviously, we don't have the really crazy 1-card combo that I used to, that I had shown off. I shouldn't say used to, but that I had shown off a while ago on the channel with the Sprite stuff and just opening Diva and how that's, you know, full Sprite combo and everything. But I think that this is still a decent point for the deck to be at, and I think that it definitely has some strengths going forward. But if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button and turn the notification bell on so I upload more cool and awesome content. And thumbs up is always appreciated. But yeah, for right now, this is Drew, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, signing out.